to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did everybody get one of the handout packets when you walked in the door and signed it? Okay, you have in front of you, right there. This is our budget summary. You all want to go through there if you have any questions.
Any copies of the detail at all?
The detailed budget's available on projector. The budget that you will be adopting today is not a line item budget, which is why you don't have copies of the detail to avoid the confusion. Last year, we were provided a summary and the detail. If there's any questions, we can put the detail up on the screen.
Mike,
Yes,
they can't hear what you're saying back here.
I'll use my teacher voice.
Thank you.
Did you want the mic?
Well, I'll just talk loud.
So are we gonna go through the detail, or what are we gonna do here?
Well, I guess it's up to you what you request.
Well, I just asked, so,
The board is proposing a tax levy payable in 2019 of $665,815. That represents an increase over last year of $37,231, and that is due to a little over $32,000 in additional debt service for the purchase of breather equipment for the fire department, and about another $5,000 of allowable levy due to increased construction in the town.
Construction of what?
New construction, new home construction, and other, I believe it's primarily new home construction. But the town is seeking approval for that levy amount. That is the role of the electors, is to approve that levy amount. The electors do not approve the budget directly. You're indirectly approving the budget by approving the levy.
What is that gonna do to our tax bill, this levy business?
It's listed on the bottom of your summary page. The very bottom of the summary page, it says the 2017 mill rate was $3.10 per $1,000 of property value assessed, and it shows the math of last year's levy of $628,585 divided by the total equalized value of $202,751,600. The proposed mill rate for this year is $3.28 per thousand, which is and the way the math is shown there, $665,815 levy proposed, divided by the total equalized value of all the property in the town of $202,867,200. That represents a change in 18 cents per $1,000 of property value. So on a $200,000 home, that represents an additional tax increase of $36 based on a $200,000 home, to answer your question.
county's already going up in the state, aren't they? and the school referendums are also gonna be added on for him.
That, that has not been calculated yet. The county treasurer gets their, worksheets to us in the next week or so. So I can't answer that question for you.
Dorothy Olson, M, 341 Fox Avenue. I just went on the website tonight for the county, and they're increasing by 3% because of the property values. That was on the website tonight. And they are voting on their budget tonight also.
Oh, no, that doesn't, until the public comment period is over on the budget.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm still waiting for the detail of the budget.
Which part of the detail would you like to see? Because
All of it. We've always been handed a packet for detail, and I do think that we are supposed to at least be able to see that, huh?
You're gonna see it right here.
Okay.
let me know when you want the page changed.
We just have to write it down.
This was available on the, or pardon me, the summary was available on the webpage, and I believe I put the detail on the webpage as well. But it was a bit, it says that on your notice that it can be downloaded on the town website. The
I had
20
checked it after I had seen that, and it wasn't on there at that point.
well,
Yeah, that looks better.
So how do you want us to go through?
I want to go through it, I want to see what the expenses are, what the line items
Well,
are.
there they are.
Well, that's revenue.
That's the income, expenses, where's the
The
revenue?
taxes. I mean, normally if we had a packet, then we could go through and ask the questions that we have.
like I
but-
said, the notice on the top. which is
Lee, do we have a right to that?
published in the paper. You have a right to request it.
And
It's available. This budget detail is the worksheet that the town board used to arrive at the budget summary. The town is required by law to publish a budget summary. They're not required by law to publish a budget detail.
but I do think that we can request a budget
You absolutely
detail.
can request
And
one.
this would be the meeting where we would want it.
But like I said, it is available on the town website,
It doesn't help us tonight.
and it's also published on the notice that it's available on the town website. It also says on the notice that you can make arrangements to view it in the town clerk's office.
Did the printer go to hell or what?
No, we talked about it at the board meeting last night. I asked them what their wishes were, and they said that,
You didn't want to, Carolyn, you guys did not want to give us any detail? Is there a reason for that?
No, we didn't say that. We said it's, we have it available.
Gary Franz, 8526 Burke Street. I'd like to know why you don't wanna go with a line item budget this year. Is it simply because you have to make too many amendments?
It makes it much more difficult for us as a board to do this, to spend hours every single meeting to do this. That's the reason it's just mainly a time element for the people involved. I mean, it has to be done, we've done it every year, we've just not always done it at every single meeting. That's the difference. We've always done it, but not every single meeting.
I guess I just feel that you can keep a closer eye on what's going on and you're going over, you know, a budgeted item.
The town board gets a budget versus actual worksheet at every meeting. Every month, they get a detail like you're seeing, and they can see what's happening with each budget line item. They still have the ability to manage it. It's just that, let's say for example, if you took all the road accounts as an example, and you saw on any given month that it was over budget, let's say, you know, it's probably not an issue the first half of the year, but the second half of the year, you're going to see, oh, I might be over budget on granite. Right now, the board will see that in the budget versus actual report that they get each month, and then the clerk will say, you're over budget on granite. What do you want to do about it? Where are you going to get the money from? So what they have to do each time they come across one line item that is over budget, they have to amend the budget. So what we've been doing over the course of the last 3 months is it seems like there's, you know, one meeting there were 30 line items that were over budget. There were 4 at the most recent meeting, and if they would just adopt a budget that's a budget in the budget summary form that was presented on the first page of your handout, they can look at the totals for each of those categories and say, okay, we're getting in trouble here. We need to do something else. So it's kind of counterproductive to take an hour out of a meeting, maybe more if you've got 30 line items to amend in the budget. It also invites mistakes. Every time you manipulate the budget like that, you're inviting a mistake. So that is the benefit. You still have the benefit of being able to manage each line item, but you don't have to worry about amending the budget each time a single item in a department is over budget.
Yes.
Clarence Hartel, M452 County Road, E. Marshall. Last spring at the annual meeting, we had a vote with the electors that wanted a line item budget, and it passed. And I recall that you said that you would do that. So I don't understand why you're not.
Well, I guess we just need, well, I don't know, who on the board here, I don't remember how we just felt that it was consuming us totally by amending every single meeting and staying till midnight to do this. And, you know, we all know what the budgets are. We can look at what we have, that's where we are.
That's what we have, right.
Actually, the budget versus actual report that I referenced is what I've been doing since I've been clerk, or most recently, is I've been trying to get scanned into the computer and put on the website every document that the board has in front of them so that you can see it. So, as an example, as soon as the most recent minutes are approved, they'll include the monthly budget versus actual report, and you do get to see it. It's totally available on our website.
This township has always been one that has had a lot of questions at budget. Am I correct? And at the annual meeting, and now we sit with this, and this ain't right.
Well, we're here, we can go through every single one of these. So,
Well, then start.
so
Go ahead, I'll scroll it and.
Well, first of all, this is the revenues. Okay, so you see your taxes. I mean, go down here, I'm gonna, you have to help here. You're looking at this, is there something on here that you question?
I
Or
want
wanna
to
know?
know expenses that I wanna see.
What?
I wanna see the expenses.
Well, you said you wanted to start out with revenues, so now we're starting out with revenues
Okay,
first,
then
so,
let's go through it,
so,
line by line.
well, that's what I'm asking you to do. You can read right here. What is there on this that you would like, that you want to question, what you have a question about? I mean, me just reading it to you doesn't make it
State
any
grants,
more
43,500.
productive. Pardon me?
The state grants, 43,500, the 42,000, 231.71, what is that?
That, the 42,231.71, Carolyn, isn't that the estimate you received for the June flood?
Yeah. State grants. Okay,
The 42,231.71.
That's income that you projected from the state
from the
for
disaster.
the disaster.
That's the amount
That's
that,
from the
well,
DOT?
we have from the disaster from the DOT.
Okay, did you apply for FEMA?
No, we
Okay.
did not, because the DOT said this is the way we're gonna go. So that's what we did,
And we got a letter of confirmation on that?
right there, 42,231.71,
We got a letter of confirmation?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Anything else on there? Can you all see back there enough that you, are there any questions on this? Otherwise, we'll scroll down to the next.
I have a question. Heidi Teskey in 511 Galvin. So last night it was stated that you were gonna call today to Marathon County. Were you able to get in contact with them?
I called and left messages twice and they haven't returned my
Is that
call.
the same 42,000 that was stated?
That is the 42,000 that we talked about. That's the one that they figured out that it's what we will be reimbursed, but when, that's what we wanted to know. We thought initially it was gonna be this year, but so far I haven't heard, and that's why I tried to get a hold of him. He didn't respond to me after 2 phone calls. I left 2 messages. So. Okay. Mike, did you wanna scroll down then,
Well,
or something
I
else?
keep minutes too.
Oh. Well, Lori,
What?
or,
Maybe I could get you to scroll the page so I can take the minutes.
okay, yeah, stop. Any questions here? Here's all of your Fall Fest revenue.
Carolyn,
Yes,
let them know that the garbage is going up also, so people are aware of this extra charge that we're,
yeah, there will, every year, we have a contract with this consortium. There are 6 townships that, belong to it, so that we get a really good price for our garbage and recycling. Every year, it goes up. We've had that in front of us for 10 years, or it will be 10 years before that, will be renewed. And so it's really minimal that it goes up. It was like 202, I think it's, now, the wrong amount went in last year. And so the increase was not noted last year, plus, for some reason or other, there were, a lot of you didn't get any garbage bills. We don't know why, we don't know, the county doesn't know why they didn't get on there. And so we have tried to go through and figure out who did not get garbage bills, and I think we finally have got them pretty much figured out. But anyway, so that it will seem like a bigger increase this year, but it really isn't. It's, we just didn't get the proper amount last year. So it will still be, I can't remember, Donna, is
214.56.
214.56, that will be your amount on your taxes for your garbage for the year. That is the charge for the garbage that has been picked up this past year.
That's only for 2018.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and there won't be any other charges from previous years?
Well, we're trying to fit, how did we decide we were gonna try and recoup those that didn't have any on there, Donna?
I collected most of them,
She picked them
Well,
up
they-
as they came in to pay
Right.
taxes, and
there
so
are
she
10
was able
left
to
in
get them.
charge after verification with the county.
Mhm.
The total dollar amount on here is a bill that we get from the garbage collection service. Based on the number of households they tell us that they pick up from, which is 755.
So we can only collect money for that we have provided, the service we have provided. So that was this year, yes, Dave?
Well, when those that weren't collected from, that comes out of the general budget then. So all of us gotta pay for those that didn't get charged for.
Well, Donna was able to pick up most of them as they
Correct.
came through that had not been on there.
Right.
So, yeah, we tried to get as much picked up as we could. Okay, is there anything else on here?
That's got up in here.
What?
Up there or lower?
You went up too far?
I don't think they did, because Fall Fest Funds was the last one that was up there.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was way
Oh, you
down on
got
the
it.
bottom.
The 49,000 accounts are last. Are
Fall
the
Fest
last,
Fund.
49,000 accounts are the last of the revenues.
There?
Okay.
Those transfers were then, will be like at our end of the year. Transfers that, because all of our funds, all of our monies that we have comes into the general fund. And then it is dispersed out into the different, areas that it is designated for. Okay, let's go down to our expenses. You see, that's mainly our wages.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Mine, M645 Birch. Under 51,300 legal, it looks like we have spent $24,000 this year,
Yes,
and we're still anticipating spending $15,000 in legal services for next year. Is that how we know?
yes.
Why are we still spending on legal for next year?
As long as we have issues that are brought forth that have to be handled legally, we have to pay for it.
What issue? What do we have now?
Any of, well, we're gonna go into that later.
Why are we paying, for Wisconsin Towns Associations in place? Yeah, we're paying.
They
for that
don't
legal
give,
advice.
they don't advise us. They give us the options,
advise?
they give us the information, and they tell you where to go with it. They do not. Lee, am I correct on that?
Correct. So why are we with the Towns Association? Why are we paying for that? If they're
Because
not
they
gonna
are
give us
very
legal advice?
helpful with guiding us through many things that we don't have to go to a lawyer for. The legal bills are mainly because of the issues that have been presented people have gone to the district attorney and have made complaints, allegations, and these have to be addressed, and they have been addressed. Yes,
The Towns Association does educational sessions for municipal officials so that they can get education on these systems and they don't need to talk to an attorney themselves all the time to know which way is up. They also do lobbying on behalf of town government and the state. Those are all things that your local attorney cannot do, just like they can't provide you legal advice. So they are different services.
I have a question. So it was stated that we no longer have any issues and nothing is outstanding. Do we still continue to pay on a monthly basis or only as needed?
that it's only as the work is done.
So we should no longer have anything else for the remainder of the year and nothing going forward in January until another business comes up?
If something else comes up, we will have the attorney here. Yes,
Carolyn, I believe you put 10,000 in there in case you wanted to redo the ordinances. next year.
yes,
The
ten
estimate is
10,000 of
That's
that.
mine share.
Thank you for reminding me. 10,000, we need to bring our ordinances up to date. We put in $10,000 into the legal fees to bring the ordinances up to date.
I have a question, what do you plan on changing in the ordinances?
Well,
Because under that
there's a
code
lot.
360,
I think Lee, you can address that our ordinance book is a monster. I mean,
Well, I know what it
it is
looks
so huge, and we don't need all the stuff. A lot of it doesn't even apply to us, correct?
Sure. You've got a 408-page ordinance book. A lot of it's not really effective because it hasn't been updated since
14.
some years. Some of it, of course, is older than that. It depends. A lot of the ordinances are, the last time you did it, you hired what's called a code service. A code service is usually it's a national organization that puts together these for municipalities all over the country. And because they're doing it on that macro level, they kind of use a lot of the same stuff, whether you're a town in Wisconsin, a city in Wisconsin, or maybe someone in North Dakota, etc. So you don't get a very good product on that. So there's a lot of things in there that are boilerplate without any real meaning, or probably need to be updated, or aren't really there and need to get put in the first place. So I haven't really comprehensive looked through it because it's 408 pages just to sit through it and look at everything and see that needs to be fixed. That itself is, part of the expense there. I look at things when they come up, specific things for when we try to see if they're helpful and need them. And this is what I've observed by doing that time and time again. So nothing I haven't seen before. And I believe you spent more than 10,000 on that code service. I found
Yes.
that in the minutes. So we'll try to do it a little cheaper and get a much better product and put you in a better footing going forward. That was the idea.
So if you go through this ordinance that you're gonna charge the township, I'm assuming, huh? Of course.
Yeah.
So ballparking, what's that gonna cost us?
That's what the 10,000 is
10,000
budgeted for.
that they got listed
Oh.
up there.
So my next question is, where is this money tree that we have? Because Dorothy and I talked the other day, we'd love to rake leaves for you. Is it over there, over there?
Okay, is there any other questions up here? Otherwise, let's move up.
I know.
Is that good or you wanna vote more?
think that's good. You can see what the expenses, most of the expenses are for utilities, work that is done for buildings and grounds. Buildings and grounds, that's mainly your mowing.
The assessor's contract, that one was up this last year, wasn't it? For 2018, that was, or does he have one more?
He's got another year, I think.
Okay.
Mhm. So you can see the animal control, Gus is right on it, picking up all of his animals, so,
What's included in the insurance for the 3758?
I mean the number.
51938.
Insurance premiums other.
And I don't see the rest of the line.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
One more time in that account number, question?
51938.
51938. Insurance premiums other than highway. And that's basically insurance related to the building.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Fire protection, there you are with all their expenses. Okay, keep going, Lauren.
Hold on.
You want me to go back? Oh,
No, I'm good, but I
Okay.
just need to, I
Okay.
wanna read
Go
the
a
rest
little
of them.
slower.
Oh, sorry. I'm already done.
I'm good.
Okay.
Up to machines, so. Put that on top.
Oh, machine operations, yeah. Oh,
Nope. Bar.
No, for machine operations.
well, there was one
No,
before
it
it,
isn't on the screen.
there,
Okay, there's two of them on there, sorry.
actually three.
Yeah,
Okay,
good on that?
No, I'm not done reading it yet.
Okay.
I'm a slow reader.
No, that's good, just let me know and I'll.
Very. Ambulance went up
it's
6.
going up, the ambulance is going up 5 to 8%. We're not sure what that will be. Last year was
5.
50,
5%.
5% across the board. This year, they are going up 5 to 8%. We haven't been notified yet what it's gonna be. So, anyway, it was 53, so we put in, I think, didn't we put down
57.
57, which kinda hit the middle ground there, so. They're not getting any cheaper. Okay.
I got
let's
a
keep
question
going.
on 52-250-20. They just spent $140-some thousand. We're gonna need another 4,000. What's that for?
Just give us.
They just bought all this new equipment.
On the $4,000, yeah, okay.
Let me help you with that a little bit.
Yes, please.
The SCBA one, right?
Yes.
I have it right, I have mine. Basically, we still are using our older compressor, which has to be serviced every year. It's oil, filters, stuff like that. We also, with the purchase of breathers, we went to the bare bone minimum. We're probably gonna need to add a couple of masks next year. The other thing is we did keep a couple of the older units, for a couple people that wanted units in their own vehicles. It was like $20 to get those flow tested, they still have to be maintained, and stuff like that. And if we have any new people that come on, we're gonna need probably a couple of masks, and we bare bones that down to what we have. We still have to do maintenance on stuff. We still have our larger Cascade bottles that I believe next year are coming up for hydro testing. So we still have expenses there.
Okay. Okay, let's go on, we're down to scroll a little more, Public Works. That's your highway.
$8,000 for the tractor, what's that for?
Tractor and grass cutter, have been combined into the tractor / grass cutter account.
Well, what do we need 8,000 in there for?
Dave?
We had a couple issues with it, it quit on the road one day, needed a new alternator. We had some repair on the moorhead. I believe last year we put tires on it. That unit I think is, what, a 99? So it's got a few years on it, but that's also used. There's also a loader on there, we use that for salt, loading salt, and gravel combinations.
Health insurance, 16,000.
Health insurance, that is a projection that possibly we will have. Am I correct on that? For Pat, isn't that his wife is probably going to retire this year. He has all these, for 20 years, been under her insurance. We've not paid any insurance. We have to offer insurance to full-time people. And so we had to come up with a figure, and it's anybody's guess.
How many quotes did you get for health insurance?
I don't know how many he went through. The cheapest one he came up with was $2,200 a month.
Where did
And
y'all
so
go?
we have not decided, I don't know where he went, that's
Because
his
I know in our
business,
policies
yeah.
and, well,
Yeah.
actually, we should be the one, our town board should be the
Well,
one
that's,
looking
when
for
he
it.
comes to us with what he's decided is the best place for him to be, then we will have to deal with it. We just put a figure in there as something,
I mean, is
now
he
that may
planning on
not
going-
even happen.
Is he planning on going with Cobra? Because I think he'd probably be better off getting an actual policy instead of Cobra. Because Cobra is usually more expensive.
I don't think he's even talked about Cobra. There was something about, what, Marketplace, or, what was it? Donna?
Yeah, the marketplace. opened up
Yeah,
November
and
1.
then he went to security where he has always been. So, no decisions have been made at that point, but felt we needed to put something in there and go from there. Now, it may be less than that.
And we're gonna pick up all of the premium or?
No, we're not. But there again, depending on where we are, we'll have to make that decision, how much we can afford to pay for it.
I don't think we have to offer,
We already did offer and you refused it.
but I don't think we're legally bound to
No, we're
offer
not.
insurance to anyone.
No, we're not. We don't have enough.
Okay. So let's move on. Okay, there's your garbage, then you move on down through your garbage, your recycling, your library fund. This past year, the usage was higher, the county, they give us the levy amount, and so that amount, we have this equation, and then whatever the usage is, if the usage is higher than what the levy amount is, then we have this savings account that we can go into. Right, Russ? That where we are able to pull out like 9,000, I think, because our usage was that much higher than what the county had levied us. So, so that, when that happens, otherwise, if it's the opposite, then we have to put that much into the whatever is the difference into the savings.
What's the 1,200 for the parks wages?
That was probably the mowing.
No, that's not, no, that's under the 9,000. You got 55,200-01 wages with
We were
5,000.
talking about having a cleaning person.
Oh, yes, we're gonna-
maintain the facility.
Yeah, I didn't remember what did we put in there?
We've got 1,200 listed where 0 was listed last year.
Okay,
Now, are they gonna be self-employed, or are they gonna,
we haven't gotten there yet. We haven't gotten there, we just wanted to, I don't feel I have for going on 8 years, helped to clean all the bathrooms, clean up, and also the town hall, the office area, and I felt that it's maybe time that we hire someone to come in and help do this. So we put 1,200 aside to help, to pay someone to help us keep on top of this. Okay, so let's go on.
only 26,000 into highway?
We have the 26,000, what,
Or it's highway
we
and
haven't,
street construction?
have we paid the bill to Earth?
This is for, that's the budget.
Which line item are you talking, which account number are you referencing?
57,330.
57?
57,330.
You're looking at saving, that 26,146 is what you were hoping to set aside for the bridge, the analysis on the bridge,
Oh, yes,
the
there you go.
Stott Avenue.
Oh,
bridge.
yes, the Stott Avenue Bridge, we have been approved to have that replaced. It will be just under $1 million. The federal government, well, they're making changes now. In the past, it was 80, and the federal would pay 80%. I don't believe they are any longer going to pay that amount, but I'm not sure. Jim Griesbach, the county commissioner, was not positive about the amounts. Anyway, we have to pay for the engineering up front. And that is to be completed within 5 years. So they've got 5 years to work on this. So until they come to us, and let us know that they're ready to do the engineering, that 26,000 is approximately what we will be paying for the engineering. And then, in the long run, the total amount that will be required of us is just under, I think it's 177,000. So,
And the county picks up 10% of that? Or 10% of the,
I think that's our portion.
ours is 10, the county's was 10, and federal was 80. So whatever. But if we're locked in already, we should be okay.
Yeah. So, that's what that is for. You have to keep reminding me, I don't know, I don't remember all this stuff. So, okay, let's go on.
That's it, that's the end of it.
That's it?
Yep, that's it right there.
Okay.
We've got debt service at the bottom. Yeah, that's the bottom line.
I would like to let the people know that on that 57,000 capital outlay, that 200 some thousand this year, not in the budget, but they spent it anyway.
Which line item are you referencing, Gary?
The capital outlay.
The,
5700, what's the 307? 57.
well, which line item in capital outlay are you talking about? The 22,300?
Yep.
222.
222 or whatever.
That money has not been spent yet. If you look in the second column, which represents January through October 8th, and it actually is reflective upon today, no money has been spent for the breathers. We've applied for a loan for the breathing equipment, $144,750. That money has not been received and has not been spent. The 77,500 or so for the 550 for the new fire truck has been paid for, and that was paid all out of reserves.
Fall Fest funds.
Fall Fest funds, and well, more specifically,
Then there was a small amount that we had, at the end of the year, we had put into a CD that was,
We had put in Stockbridge, it was 20,000. We had
21.
designated 20,000 into Stockbridge that the fire department wanted, right?
It was,
And you took it out of the Stockbridge project,
mhm.
okay? And then you had 37,000, was it roughly, that was in, the CD?
No, it was 20,000 in the CD, and the rest of it was all just their Fall Fest.
Okay, the Fall Fest funds. So how much was actually transferred to pay for that truck?
I've got it right here. If you scroll back to the bottom of the revenues, it's all summarized. You're gonna look for the 49,000 accounts.
Okay, right on the bottom of it, Laura.
Okay.
I see, there you go.
So to pay for the fire truck, you should see, you see the 37,344.12. That represents the funds that were taken out of the Fall Fest savings account. The 20,000 came from the Public Works CD. I believe it was Kevin that had explained that last year you knew that it was fire department money. You transferred it to the Public Works fund, and now he transferred it back. So there was no robbing of funds there. And then 20,205.88 came from the fire department CD. So basically, the fire department funded that purchase of the fire truck that they bought. So they're gonna be asking you for a loan of, well, actually, they're asking you to increase the levy. And the reason that they need to increase the levy is because of the loan to pay for the $144,750 breathing equipment that is needed for the firefighters to go in and out and breathe in a fire. I've already explained that that represents about a $36 tax increase on a $200,000 home. So to answer Gary's question, no, that money's not been spent yet. That $144,750, we're waiting to get those funds so that we can buy those breathers.
Okay? questions? Okay, we'll close the comments from the audience.
Did you look at the time?
Seven.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carolyn, I got a question. I don't know if this is proper place or time. On that community picnic, you guys are not, you don't see fit to fund it just for the next year, am I correct?
It's not that we don't see fit, it is that there are laws,
Well, let me continue on that then.
wait, we're not,
They've already closed the comments.
closed the comments, we can talk
Well,
now,
that's convenient.
so.
Well, I'm glad I don't live here, huh?
Okay.
So when do I get to talk?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, that's not it. Okay, so now we will move into, we'll call the meeting to order for the special county board meeting, of the electors. I'm sorry. At 7:02 or whatever, correct? Okay, so now we have to take, how are we going to vote? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we do by ballot.
Okay, the motion's been made to vote by ballot. Dorothy?
Dorothy Olson seconds it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion carried. Okay, so now we will move into to adopt the motion to,
I'd like to make the motion to accept the levy at $500,000.
pardon me?
You have minutes.
Oh, I have the minutes first.
No, you asked for a motion.
I have, but I have to follow the agenda. So, we're back up to that, and approve, I'll read the minutes. The meeting was called, the minutes for the last meeting, November 16th, 2017, at 6 p.m. The meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. by Chairman Carolyn Opitz. The pledge of allegiance recited. 17 constituents were present. Debbie approved, December 22nd, 2016. Joe Berger seconded. The discussion was Paul Mansell pointed out the budget hearing recommendation to hold a meeting on the second Wednesday of November. Why always held on Thursday before deer hunting? Looking at the number and attendance. Joe said the meeting does not have much to do with deer hunting as it does with the budget issues of last year. Mansell said no one gets to see as it's not posted. Berger on website and said it is on the website and published and posted. Dorothy Olson, general consensus is there is a parade in Marshfield and a move to a Tuesday, and move it to a Tuesday. Came close to not having it tonight from the workshop. That really doesn't make much sense. Carolyn Opitz, what we were going by is the publication of 15 days and gave one more day. Dorothy Olson changed publication of the township to the Hub City News. Gary Franz posted Kenny Seeger's store. Carolyn Opitz contacted Bernie Wenzel of Resource Recovery, which is what is set to go up there. Bruce Wyman, the issue was brought up the other night, a posting at the vet clinic. Debbie on the agenda for next month. When the vet clinic first went up, they offered to post. Distinguished vote. raise his hands, majority in favor, motion carried. Debbie moved to approve the levy, Clyde Winnie a second. Discussion, proposed levy 628,584 was a unanimous, vote. Elected official salaries, date correction of April 2018. Dorothy Olson said, to me, the salary is the same as they are currently. Joe Berger second. No discussion. 12 in favor, 2 opposed. Motion carried. Dorothy Olson voted on the mill rate. No vote. The only vote is on the levy. Bruce moved to adjourn. Catherine second. All in favor, motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Bruce Wyman, N636 Galvin Avenue.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those nay. Motion carried. Number 3 was to establish the compensation for elected officers.
Levy.
To approve the 2018 total town tax levy of $665,815 to be collected in 2019 pursuant to state statute 60.101A of Wisconsin statute.
And I believe my motion stands. You got it, Mike?
Is there a second?
Can we hear the motion again? Can't hear Greg.
To approve the 2018 total town tax levy of $500,000 to be collected in 2019.
I'll second it.
Motion and second made and seconded by George.
George. George.
Okay, we'll take a vote.
We gotta have discussion, don't we? Should we have some discussion?
What would be the point of having a levy that's significantly below what's being requested here?
Well, the money that's left over, the estimated amounts that you have in the budget, taking out loans that I don't really particularly care for. You raise your hand to me.
So may I speak? I'm Sam Steiner from the M220 Foxfire Lane. So, if I'm correct, you were the person who primarily was concerned about going line by line through the budget. And we've done that, and your objections to the budget, your questions about the budget have been answered. So if you had objected to, $165,000 worth of items there, I would understand that as a rational reason to be wanting.
Well, then I'm irrational.
So, I think so, and that's my concern, is that we're voting on something that is an irrational proposal.
Well, I don't believe it is. I do believe that this.
Okay, whoa.
I'm Kathleen Light from M533 Canyon Street. I agree with Sam, thank you for stating it. You stated my concerns exactly. I agree with the levy as it's printed on the paper.
We're gonna vote.
Any further discussion?
Dorothy Olson, M341 Fox Avenue. We also have to realize that our county taxes are going up 3%. And I don't know, maybe everybody else has a raise in their things, but all I'm gonna get is my social security raise. And these things don't cover all of this additional cost. So I think it's transparency, that these items that were brought up, they could have been budgeted for this coming year, which would have been the correct process, bring it to the public and say, this is what we want, we're saving for this year. This came up within the last 2 months, that all of a sudden we had to get a different truck.
Excuse me, Dorothy, could you stand up and repeat what you said, because nobody in the back can hear you? Otherwise, I have a mic here that you can
talking to so everybody can hear it. Because I had a couple of people in the back ask me what you were saying, and I really.
Okay, what I'm seeing is county taxes are going up 3%. You can go on the website, it's very visible, very transparent. Also, it was brought up at the different workshops when this fire truck and these breathing apparatus, I have no qualms about breathing apparatus to the fire department. But we've also been adding money on every year with the money for the SCBA's. These things are not expired. You heard tonight now, they were going to get rid of them last night at the town meeting. And now all of a sudden we hear tonight that, well, we need to keep some of this stuff. So we have to make up our minds. Can we keep on adding more tax onto the public? Or do we need to be transparent, follow the process of budgeting, not wait until the last minute and say, okay, go ahead, we're gonna go for a loan in order to raise our levy. And that's what we've done the last 2 times. This is a 5-year payment plan, folks.
That's right. And we're not done with the other one.
And we
We
got one
more
payment
to
left
go,
from the
one
last
more,
one.
right after the first of the year, that will pay off the last. Rodney, you wanna go over the breathing apparatus for people? Just so we all know.
Basically, out of the breathers, I had said that we were keeping a couple for this next year. We were keeping 7 out of the old ones. There was 24 that are basically obsolete. We were going to be losing, we basically have lost 12 bottles by the end of the year that we can no longer use air into. We're required to keep 2 bottles for each breather. So out of that time, basically, there are 2216s is the pressure that all of this system works on. Everybody basically around us, and the standard has become 4,500 pounds. With the 4,500 pounds, that increases the amount of time that we can spend in a fire or have for reserve. So that's why we're not keeping these breathers on the trucks anymore. That's why we looked at replacing. It's one of those deals that has to be kind of done all at once. Now that we've moved up to 4,500 pound bottles, the next time around, which we did the last time around that we purchased bottles, we were able to work them in gradually because all the bottles were at the same pressure. When you're trying to fill bottles, it's very tough to be able to sit through bottles and sift through them and go, this one's 2216, adjust the regulator, and then grab the next bottle, go, it's 4,500, and then so on and so forth that way. I hope that helps out some of you people.
How long do these things last?
Basically, the lifespan of the bottles is 15 years.
Okay. Do you have to have these bottles for every fireman, or no?
What we based on, we do not have bottles or breathers for everyone in the department. We based it on the seating arrangements inside of the rigs.
The reason I ask that is because when they practiced on our old house, you probably were involved in that, I would imagine.
Correct.
Okay, they found, Dale Foles told me this, that they found like 3 people that were not suited to go into a house like that. And they, you know, they panicked and whatever, they had to pull it back out. So I just was wondering if you had this breathing stuff for everybody. There's somebody sitting out on the truck smoking a cigarette, what the hell we gotta, they shouldn't have a breathing apparatus.
The breathers are not set up like your turnout gear. Turnout gear, everyone gets issued a set turnout gear. They get a mask. The ones that fit test and go through and that are tested, they get a mask. Some of them are still on probation that have not had class yet, but they have to have the mask so when they go through class, they have their training. If somebody's not suited for being able to go into a structure, they're not given a mask. I mean, we're not giving to just to hand them out. It's the people that can use it. And the breathers that we purchased are all on the rigs.
How many are on the fire department?
We have 22 right now.
And how many years have you been saying that we're getting to our?
Some of our breathers are approximately 20 years old. And we knew that we were moving to it. And the 2216s is, I mean, we're moving, the technology, we're behind. I mean, that's where moving up is, it became time.
You'll have enough though for each person if you're keeping some of the old ones, correct?
Well, they're purchasing 17.
Okay.
17. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, within working with the 17, we've got less breathers for people. But you have to remember, somebody has to run the pump.
Exactly.
Somebody has to sit outside, run the radios. I mean, that's where it's at. And if you go, well, you don't need that many on this rig or that rig. The other thing is, you have mutual aid. When Stratford shows up, I mean, that's why we kind of want to stay with what everybody else has. I know some people have some issues with that, but when you stay with what everybody else has, they can grab it off your rig and use it. The house fire that we had up here earlier on Galvin, earlier in the year, one of the guys from Stratford was driving past at about the same time as our rig was getting there. Stratford's rigs were not there. He was able to mask up with our equipment and go in. Yes?
If you're done with that part. There's a not so subtle insinuation that the process for approving the purchase of the fire equipment, the breathers and the fire truck, was not transparent. So I want to go on the record and explain the process. The town elected the board members. The board members have open meetings. We discuss these. I'm a board member. My name is Bob Steiner. You elected me. We discussed in detail, we had great long deliberations about the purchase of this equipment over 2 successive open board meetings. The minutes for those meetings were posted immediately after the meetings were finished. You were all invited to those open meetings. They were announced meetings. Again, we deliberated for a long time, probably 40 minutes at one of the meetings. This was, I think, September and October board meetings where we discussed these purchases. In the end, after the long deliberations, we had votes and discussion about the purchases and agreed to purchase the equipment. So this was done in an open, deliberative, careful process with the board members voting in favor of purchasing this vital equipment for safety. Thank you.
I don't have a problem with this whole loan business. I have a problem with the timing. You should have waited. You should have waited a few months and get into the first of the year so you didn't have 2 payments in 1 year, because that's also going to hurt our shared revenues next year. When that one drops 30,000, that debt service.
Actually, you're actually replacing the debt service.
You're going to have
void.
62,000 this next year. You're going to have 32,000 the year after.
Right, which would be the same as this year.
Correct, but with the jumping up to the 62 and then down to 32, it's going to hurt us.
But you jump up the 1 year and then you go back down again.
That's going to hurt
Provided
us.
there's no other additional.
And by waiting a couple of months, it would have just kept it consistent.
Plus you could have added in the budget like it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Well,
Not
it is
come
in,
along
it
and
is
buy a
in the
bunch of
budget.
stuff that
It
isn't
is
in the budget.
And
It
you know,
wasn't in the budget last year.
well, it is in for the new budget, and that's the first payment is in the new budget. The first payment is in the new budget.
That's not the proper way to do it.
Well, you know what? If you need new breathing equipment for firefighters, stand up, please. Thank you. Yes, sir.
There's such a need for the breathing apparatus. Why wouldn't you buy that before you buy another fire truck?
The fire truck basically was paid for by the Fall Fest funds. That is all donations. That is not, there was a portion of that, a very small portion of it was paid, there was 57,000 out of, on that went toward that truck, out of donations. Yes, it is. 57, yes it is. 37,000 came out of the Fall Fest fund.
Okay.
20,000 of their CD money that they had put aside.
But that was
okay?
budget money. That was not Fall Fest money.
Budget.
That's exactly right.
So they budgeted for new equipment.
So
That was
37
on the budget. And they
37 came out
have
of Fall
paid
Fest.
$37,000 toward, with donations toward that truck. That truck, that old one is sitting back there. I'd be happy to sell it to any of you. If any of you wanna drive that truck, I'm sure it would be good for something. It had no seat belts, you know, honest to Pete, it's a 1979.
What's the new one, or the different one?
1999, it's 20 years younger, but, you
Can I
know,
just say
it's
something
still old.
on this truck business? When Joe Berger was on the board, he went and looked into that, and he came up with a number where he said he could get that, they could get that truck up to par, new engine, new transmission, put in seat belts for 20 grand, I believe that was the number.
Electrical, the whole shot.
Yeah, I mean, go,
Then
you know,
knew what you were gonna
he
have.
went and researched that, and he came up with these numbers. But you guys just blew it off. Yeah, big deal, so if it's, even if it's 20 years older than the other one, who cares, as long as it runs and it functions and it's
Well, it's
safe.
gonna have to have more than just that, because it would, anyway, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not going.
Neither am I, but I get cut off again.
Well,
Should I show up to meetings at all anymore, or would you rather I not?
you know.
I ain't rude, I'm just telling it, I get cut off
All
quite
right,
a bit.
let's move forward, yes.
I just wanna say, we've elected our officials for good reason. I completely trust what you're doing.
Please stand
And
up,
this
please.
clearly,
They can't hear you, can you stand up, please?
my name is Catherine Mike, M533 Cannon Street. We have elected our officials for good reason. I completely trust the work that you're doing. All the information you've gone through tonight is plenty for me. I think we need to be efficient and move on with business.
I couldn't hear either, so.
Any further discussion?
I'm
sorry, Sam, I passed you by.
I'm Sam Steiner, M220 Foxfire Lane. There was a question over here that I'd like to ask. It's whether we can make a motion to amend the current motion.
No, we haven't voted on this. That's my choice.
Superior motion.
Okay, pardon me?
I could, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so we can, but apparently we chose
any
not to.
further discussion?
Pardon me?
Okay,
Okay, friendly, okay.
Ballots.
we just hand them out. You had a basket, Lauren.
Although I have a box, that basket will be used for a different vote.
Okay.
There's 100 ballots there. So there's only 91 people signed in, so.
Don't ask me how I got caught into this. I'm so mad.
Pass them down, no, give us a stack.
And there was a whole bunch of candidates.
Quick.
Hey, I want to highlight something.
Okay.
We have 91 people signed in today. There were 110 pink ballots. Why am I almost out of ballots?
We got one, we got a couple here.
Pens, pencils?
Please. I'll be recovery. Share those.
Anybody need ballots yet? Anybody have ballots yet? Oh, wait. Just one more. Anybody need a ballot? Okay, could I have your attention, please? Who needs a ballot still?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody?
I need one. Sorry.
Anybody else? Are you a resident of the town? Do you need one? Okay, good. Anybody else have extra ones? You want to grab that? All right, I'm just going to take a quick tally of how many ballots I have left over.
Shouldn't you have announced what the motion was?
Yeah,
I haven't got that far yet. Well, I got mine still.
You have to have a vote on it. Oh, okay. Vote first.
Okay, ballot counts are right. All right, Carolyn, while I was walking around, people wanted to know what a yes vote means, what a no vote means, and I'll let you have at it, and then I'll probably chime in.
The motion has been made. Who seconded?
I did.
Oh, you did, George. And seconded, to approve a levy of 500,000. So, if you want a levy of 500,000, or do you want, well, how are we
It
doing?
would be yes.
Or no?
But you have to
The
clarify.
motion was to set the 2018 payable and 2019 levy at $500,000.
Instead of.
Instead of,
No, that's the
that's
question.
it.
So yes vote is 500,000.
500,000.
For a yes vote.
Yes.
A no
A yes vote is to go with the 500,000. Okay.
So I was gonna interject that the town board has requested a levy of $665,815. A yes vote means that we have to renotice the budget?
No.
No?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The motion is for a levy of 500,000. A yes vote is for a levy of 500,000. A no vote defeats the motion. And we start over. Okay?
Pass it, I'll meet you down the other end. That sounds perfect.
To say, I looked at this and I have a question about this line instead of spending the time.
We need 2 volunteers. Barry, fine?
Do I have everybody's ballot in the box? Oh, okay. Now do I have everybody? Good, here you go.
discussion about that. It should have been discussed. How they come up with 500, but no discussion, no just one person.
That means that our levy is now going to be cut to $500,000.
Oh.
Discussion.
How can this happen?
Just like you say something, even though we cut the levy, we still can ask the town to come back if needed more money, correct?
At the April meeting.
No, I think that they could call a special town meeting.
Oh, yeah, that way
to
too.
increase. No?
This is the levy for the next year. You adopted it.
Okay.
you created a big emergency here. You know, the streets aren't gonna be plowed, the fire department's not gonna be able to operate.
That is absolutely. All right, order.
The Russians.
Maybe you're the Russian.
The levy is now 500,000. It's gonna, so that means there's a whole lot that we have to cut. 165,000. So, number one will be roads. And then the board will make the decision where the rest of them will come. So, the board will make the decision where the cuts are gonna come from.
Highest road number
Yes.
3 in the agenda. That was the vote.
Can I ask a question?
No, that action item's over. There'll be a board meeting to follow.
So the number 3 is to establish compensation for elected officers. Do we have want to make any changes to increase?
It says no, the agenda item says no changes proposed.
I move that we accept I motion that we vote on accepting the item number 3, compensation staying as the same as it was.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, the motion is made and seconded to leave the.
I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear what it was.
The motion has been made to leave the elected town officers' salaries the same as they are now. It has been seconded.
By whom? Seconded by? I'll just go to your last name, Nancy. It's Sam?
It's S-C-M, Sandra, yeah. Yes,
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Any motion carried. So I need a motion to adjourn this portion of our meeting and we'll move into the next one. We have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay? Okay, we'll move into the next portion.
You know the time? What is the time?
7:42. That's 7:43.
Okay, this will be a notice of a McMillan special town board meeting. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order.
This is a special board meeting. Can we get the board members up here? You're all welcome to stay.
You're just going to continue? Okay, because I want to watch the rest of this. This ought to be good. The unstable person that I am, you know.
Do you understand what you did?
I was on the board for 10 years.
I know you were.
Yes.
This was destructive.
Without discussion, there was no discussion of how it should go over 500,000.
They had
Okay,
Russ?
No, it's not like, just go in and go around the corner.
So that replaced the voting on the bill? Yep.
I'm worried about what's going to happen. There's $104,000 to cut. The voting. Thank you very This is great for this actually. This is the one that people just want
All right, listen, we're calling the meeting to order. So all gather in that wants to, we have a meeting, we're gonna have our meeting now. So, I don't know, in order to hear. All right, okay. Everybody here? Okay, we just did the meeting was called to special town board minutes, meeting, call to order at 7:43 on November 13th, 2018. We did not do we did the Pledge of Allegiance earlier. So now we will move on to the budget has been adopted, or the levy has been adopted, and so now we're going to have to we're going to have to adjust our budget. So, yes, please.
So, the electors adopt the levy, which they did. It's still up to the town board how to design the budget. Basically the options are with the levy that we received, you could have some amount of cuts, you could take out additional loans, or you could have some combination of the two. That's pretty much what there is for them to work with. You could, I don't know if they're able to hash it out tonight, if you could, because it's on the agenda, or you might call a special town board meeting.
What do you want to do?
When does it have to be called? Our budget doesn't matter at this point. The levy limit is all that the county needs, so that was set tonight, so.
Correct.
What we do with the money that was voted on, that's up to us.
Well,
To answer your question, Donna said that tax bills, provided everything was on track tonight, tax bills were set to go out the first week of December. So that process will be delayed. I don't know, Donna, how much though.
The rule of thumb is everything should be in, set, and prepared before Thanksgiving, which is next week, exactly. So what we need is to get that dollar amount on, and then we get in line behind whatever townships are ahead of us. So the goal is to have them out addressed by the 10th, which doesn't give a whole lot of time, because everybody needs theirs printed, it isn't just us. So, the golden rule for us is to get it to the county by Thanksgiving. There's no, I believe one year you didn't get them out till the 31st of December, which is totally unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. Everybody needs to know what their bills are so they can pay them on time. So the goal is the 10th.
So you do have some time, if you wanna think about it. A few days.
I had a question for Lee. As far as public noticing of the budget summary, will we have to publish that again? No. Okay, the answer was no.
So how are we gonna move forward on this? We're obviously gonna have to make very large cuts. $165,000 worth, or get a loan. So we are already committed to borrowing the money for the breathers. We're not gonna make the firefighters go without their breathers. So that means the decision is gonna have to be made as to what we're gonna cut. Now, every year we get general transportation aids. We get shared revenue. I would suggest that, you know, we're gonna have to cut back. We're not going to be able to do any projects. As far as road projects, there will be none. We'll be lucky if we have money enough to even do the maintenance. We have been very careful in our budget process in trying to keep our taxes down. Once in a while, things come up that we have to do, and you can't always project when you need something done ahead of time. We all have emergencies. This isn't the breathers, to me, is something that we either have public safety, which is number one. That is our number one responsibility. We either take care of our public safety, and number two is our roads. So number two is going to have to give in this year for the next 5 years, or next year, 1 year. Pardon me? Yes.
I mean, Mike.
Oh.
The comment earlier today about debt payments affecting your shared revenue, I didn't follow that. Shared revenue's been frozen for a long, long time. You get that whether you're making debt payments or not, okay? The other issue is to be careful about your road funding, because I assume you're on the per mile here.
Yes.
And that's a 3-year rolling average. So if you don't spend enough money, the state doesn't give you your full allotment of money. You have to keep spending enough money to get the full amount from the state. So be very careful about manipulating that and do the math so you don't lose out on money you've got coming towards you otherwise. So do people do that, you know, spend down, up and down different years? Yeah, people do it. But there's dozens of probably municipalities a year that screw it up and don't actually get their full allotment of state money. So be careful about that. Your other major thing is this bridge project that's got to get started. If you don't keep that in track, you know, potentially if you lose that funding, which if you don't keep up your end, that's how it happens. You know, that's like $1 million that wouldn't get spent in the town if you don't spend, what is it, 100,000 or something? So a lot of those formulas require to have enough skin in the game. So, and I haven't done the math or looked at those, but I'm just telling you that those are definitely things that you probably want to keep afloat.
So we have to make the decision on where we're going to cut.
I would like to ask the attorney a question. So if this board decides to borrow that difference, that's a commitment for even if a new board comes on in April, for the
somebody?
I think we're gonna have to have a special meeting and go through the budget again and see what we can do. First,
I agree with that. Anytime we go through this, we'll look and see where there's places that could be, stuff like that, what has to be. And, for us to do that right now in this, with this atmosphere, I think it's wrong. It's not good.
Okay, so,
so I make a motion to have a special town board meeting.
Can you schedule it tonight?
Yeah.
You might wanna schedule a motion. Make sure you have it in time.
Tomorrow work for everybody? Does tomorrow work?
You need to notice it 24 hours, you won't make it special.
can't do it,
I think,
Yeah.
Thursday? Okay. Can't do Thursday.
I was just asking, I know plenty of people attending the resolutions on whatever. So that is next week, so I'm sure the schedules are real bad.
The motion is for next Thursday at 6. Special town board.
15, so today's the 13th. At 6 p.m. Thursday.
Okay, we'll set up a new meeting for, I'll send you. Okay, is there any further discussion? The motion is made and seconded to have a meeting on Thursday, the 15th at 6 p.m.
Never adopted.
Motion to adopt the 2019 budget and 2018 levy table in 2019. Oh, budget. Okay.
The levy's done. Okay, all those in favor? Well, you want to take a roll call?
Sure. Go ahead.
so that's in time and everything done. That's in time and everything to get to county. I mean, you could,
It will still be okay.
we'll be like last, but
Yeah, we'll be last in line, so I'll try to hit for the 15th, but that's one of the weeks.
and the reason, if you do consider a loan, that would be the thing that would change your level. Just because that's like an addition, so.
Ready for a roll call?
Yes.
Bob?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay,
Okay, Lee, you had some legal updates. There's people here that were not present last night. We'd like you to bring forward. I'm sorry that the rest of them had to leave, did leave, because they're the ones that need to hear it.
So, we had a couple of legal matters going on, past, I forget how long, several months. Basically, the report is tonight that we don't have any right now. We are involved in a lawsuit over the uniform addressing issue with the county. We didn't really have a dog in that fight, and we were able to get dismissed from that, I think, within the last week. That case will go on for another year or two, so that's actually pretty beneficial to us. The other issue was, the district attorney confirmed to me that there are no open investigations anymore. Everything is either was not referred or is not being pursued. So everything's closed. There's nothing open from the DA's office. We had questions about outstanding public records requests. I can tell you that that's been resolved as well. There are none at this time. So, known to myself, there are no active or open legal issues for the town. Question?
I have a question. I wanted to know if I'm getting this accurately. So the investigation of the criminal allegations that were brought against members of the board in 2013, as well as this past spring, right before elections, which I thought was kind of unusual, that were investigated at our cost, our taxpayer dollar cost, had no basis and are basically fake news?
I can tell you that everything's closed and nothing was pursued.
Yeah.
Okay?
So
And
that-
they did get
No,
looked into.
I gotta say something
Yeah,
on this,
okay.
because I was one that put stuff into a letter. And I don't like the phrase allegations. Some of the stuff I put in there were concerns over matters of how stuff was being handled. And I believe with Lee being here, things have kind of corrected themselves and some answers have come forth. So to have a picture painted that there were allegations and to have it, the statement that it was before election, prior to election had nothing to do with it. It was all timing as far as what was going on with me, with my letter. I am not speaking for anybody else, but it seems some of the stuff that has been happening wrong as far as budgetary stuff. We have been amending the budgets. And through some of the discussion tonight, as far as having a line item budget or a general budget, a general budget is better. Most townships do that, so you don't have to do all the line item stuff. We still have the report given that we can go through. And we haven't had that in the past. A lot of stuff has changed and have gotten better. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's my statement on that.
Can I tell you what she's referring to? In the last criminal investigation, and that's what the district attorney or what the sheriff's department shared with me, I was alleged, and this is an allegation, that I was alleged misconduct in office because I was the chairman of the board, and it states that on that investigation that the Carolyn Opitz was alleged misconduct in office because I hired Donna Beck. That was what the investigation was. Now, to me, that's a pretty darn strong allegation. So that's what came across, and that's what's in the report. Did you see it?
No,
Okay, so
I've never been contacted by anybody.
well, they contacted me because that's what the allegation was, is that I was doing misconduct in office because I illegally hired Donna Beck. Now, first of all, I cannot hire Donna by myself. This was a board decision, It maybe wasn't unanimous, but that doesn't matter. It was a fair vote. And so, and it was not illegal. And so then there were other things within there. So Kevin, if you haven't seen it, then you need to read it, because I consider that pretty strong language of being accused of, or the allegations were against me. So that's where that comes from.
And that was, the rehiring was part of my letter. It was not I have it somewhere yet. It wasn't directed at you, it was the rehiring period based upon the state statute and the interpretation of it. Lee has since clarified that.
But nevertheless, the official document alleged that I was, performing misconduct in office. So that's where that all comes about.
And I think that would be a wordage thing that how Marathon County put it together.
Well, it may have been, but it comes across pretty strong. So anyway, that's where that is. So anyway, Lee, I'm sorry. You may continue on with what you have to say, because you have a lot to tell these people.
Don't worry. I mean, we're in the clear right now, so that's good news. It's been a while. I would just, if I may, I think there's some advice given to some of these board members to ask the sheriffs to investigate it. And when you take it to the cops, their hammers and everything they look at is a nail. I mean, that's their line of work. That's partly why it took so long. They didn't know how to address town issues. And part of the reason, not why it went away, but something that played into it was the fact that the town started using an attorney again, or maybe for the first time. And I think we looked into a lot of old issues, a lot of baggage, kind of put it to bed as far as I'm concerned. That was my prediction, that's what we found. And that legal budget for next year was to stop messing around in the past and actually start fixing and correcting some things for the future, so we've got less problems going forward. That was the whole idea going forward, and I think that's the right attitude, and I've been very welcomed by all board members to help do that. We'll see if it stays in the budget now, but definitely, I used to work at the Towns Association. I heard about Town of McMillan 10 years ago. This was going on forever, that there were some issues here, and yeah, things were not really done right in a lot of ways for a long time, and we had the chance. We've looked into a bunch of those things. They are what they are. There's pretty much nothing to be done about the past. Things are running a lot better now already. I've been very impressed with the board themselves, and there's a lot of commitment to move forward if we can. So I just hope we focus on that, even with the events tonight. Thank you.
Okay. I guess we need a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Okay, motion being seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.